Welcome to the RKO Scoop special for the Ghost of History.
Three.
I feel like we need Paul Bearer from like 1980s WWE.
Yeah.
Just stand. I loved him. I loved him. I miss the camp
Hmm.
that I mean it still has camp. Wrestling still has camp, but I miss the camp of 1980s which was WWF then
Mm.
and became the WWE. But I miss the WWF camp. I miss when Paul Bearer would go, ooh.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan, are you ready? Are you ready to face my Undertaker?
Every time the Undertaker would say something, or like Money Inc. with their whole like shtick of like the businessmen
Yeah.
suits,
Yeah.
where they'd come in and they would hit people with briefcases and money would fly out, or Jake the Snake, Brutus the Barber Beefcake. They all had a shtick,
Hmm.
and I loved it, and it
Hmm.
was amazing. It was really great, and that's I mean they like I say they still have their own shtick, but it's not the same.
No,
Not the
no.
same.
Bit like the old Mega Drive wrestling games. They were great as well. Yeah, yeah. And they had all those. Yeah, they're all the same attitude. This is a Halloween week special episode that we decided to record, examining interesting or a couple of interesting ghost stories and or ghosts from history, famous ghosts as well. And this is prompted by someone asked you about a particular ghost, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Our friend at Epic Realms, Nick, we had a 2 hour special that he did for charity,
Hmm.
and we were talking about different. We actually weren't talking about ghosts. We were talking about different paranormal things,
Hmm.
mostly cryptids and things like that. We were talking about like the Sacramento little dudes with their little legs. We were talking about Mothman, and the curious case of the Greenbrier ghost came up.
Okay.
And he was very interested in this. Mark, do you know what the Greenbrier ghost is?
No. No. Oddly.
So the Greenbrier ghost is an American legend.
Uh huh.
It did happen. Well, I should say the court case did happen. And so a lot of people like to point to this case, I will tell you what it is in a second, and
Okay.
say that this is like the first instance where a ghost actually came back and did testimony and they caught the killer. Obviously, there are a couple of stories like this. There's one in England, I think, of the Red Barn.
Uh huh.
There's a whole series like that. So the year is 1897.
Okay.
This is a courthouse in Greenbrier County, hence the Greenbrier Coast, in West Virginia, Mountain Mama. And the accused murderer is a husband. Okay,
Hmm.
so the original story is that a young lady by the name of Elvizona Hayster,
Hmm.
who went by Zona, married a guy who has a great name, Erasmus Shue. He had a much longer name, but Erasmus Shue. Um, Her mom did not like this guy. He gave off bad vibes. She married him anyway, though. And thing is that he had been married twice before, and he had obviously he beat his first wife,
Oh.
and but nobody knew at the time what happened to his second wife. And so Zona was to be his third wife,
Hmm.
and she was recorded as being a difficult woman.
Hmm.
Classic example. But she was found dead, and the story is that when he was brought to the courtroom, her husband, to ask, "Hey, did you kill your wife?" He went, "No." And of course, they examined her body. The claim is that they examined her body. They found nothing.
Okay.
And then a very interesting thing happened. So her mother said, "Nope, I know it. I know that he killed my daughter. I know it. Go back and examine the body again." And they did. And lo, they discovered that she had been killed. And they discovered that her throat had been crushed, her windpipe had been crushed, and that obviously there were problems with her neck. Now, how did they miss this the first time?
Bernard.
Yes, sir.
Just a moment, if I may. We do not yet know the cause of death.
When you find them in the river, cause of death is drowning.
I'll read to you what it says about the account of her second autopsy results. It says the discovery was made that the neck was broken and the windpipe was mashed. And on the throat were marks of fingers indicating that she had been choked. The neck was dislocated between the first and second vertebrae. The ligaments were torn and ruptured, so he really...
Yeah.
And the windpipe had been crushed to the point of the front of the neck. Okay. So she was... Now you will ask me, you will say, one, how did they not see this the first time? Two, what is the deal with the ghost? And so the claim is that Zona's mom, who hated this guy, she claims that she saw her daughter's ghost after she died 4 nights in a row.
Okay.
And that on the second night, she said, he killed me and you have to avenge me. And so she went to, her mom's name is Mary Jane. She went to the paper. She said, it weren't no dream. She came back and told me that he was mad and that she didn't have no meat cooked for supper. She came 4 times in 4 nights. But on the second night, she told me that her neck was squeezed off at the first joint, and it's just what she told me. That's what her mom said. And so then a lawyer questioned her, and etc. So thing is that, Mr. Shu was obviously convicted, and problem is that then the legend began that the ghost was the one who came and told her mom that this is what would actually happen to her, and they believed the ghost testimony. And that's how it happened. So, Mark, what's the problem with this story?
I mean, but the initial thing that comes to mind is obviously you're unlikely to know when you're being strangled to death what part of your skeleton is being detached from what other part of your skeleton, perhaps. I mean that might be me being very picky, but I'm guessing that might not be the problem.
So, in the first time that they tried Mr. Shu, so the papers reported that it was the ghost story that flipped the decision. But in truth, in reality, the ghost story was never mentioned in the court case at all. And that this is a story that her mom was telling after the fact. And according to what happened afterward, again, we hope that this is true, Mr. Shu was quite difficult when they wanted to examine his wife's body. Because he had 2 other wives before. Remember, nobody knew that he had killed his second wife at the time. So he impeded the investigation, and therefore they decided to do another one when he was not there. And then, of course, when her mom was when it was known that he had probably murdered her, then her mom told the story. Now, whether her mother dreamt this out of grief, we cannot say, but that is the legend of the Greenbrier ghost.
Interesting. Well, I have 2 stories that I want to share, but let's start close to home. I'll start with a story that used to scare the absolute pants off me when I was a kid. It's from a book called Haunted Clwyd, which is the historic name for what became Denbigh or Denbighshire rather, when I was in primary school. And it's it's a collection of stories from different towns. This one is a town called Mold, or in Welsh, Urwythgrig. But also,
much better than Mold.
Yeah, much better than Mold. Married. That said, that although I was very tempted to go with the story from a place called, and I kid you not, Cum. Yeah, I deliberately.
Wait. How is it spelled though? Is it spelled
CWM?
Okay.
CWM,
Okay.
Yeah, Cum.
Yeah.
There's actually a Welsh language soap opera called Poblicum, the people of Cum, which is.
It's spelled differently. We can't say anything.
No, but yeah, as a teenager, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's still hilarious. Anyway, so this is from Mold, and this story really freaked me out. I actually it freaked me out so much that even just seeing the pictures of, it's just photos of a house and a board there.
That house looks like Mold. Yeah.
that was enough. I didn't like it. Did not like these pages. So, Mold, modern Clwyds, county town, has a history which predates Romans. The centrepiece of the town is its Bailey Hill, a partly natural, partly man-made formation which rises above the elegant Gothic parish church of St Mary to provide a landmark for miles around. It gives its name to the Celtic settlement Urwithgrig, the Green Mound, and to the English one, Mold, being a corruption of Mont Altus, the name the Romans gave to the hill. Ancient skeletons are occasionally dug up in the gardens bordering Bailey Hill, and there are many rumours of ghostly figures seen flitting about its ramparts. Below the hill stands a terrace of 4 Victorian houses, each apparently as haunted as the next. Sharn Roadhouse lives in number 4, closest to the Bailey, and in her garden wall are the remnants of Mold's original 13th century church, which was destroyed when the present church was built. A chunk of Gothic masonry, perhaps forming part of a window, is set beside 4 carved heads, a distinctly Celtic design, supposedly, and they serve as reminders that the houses are situated in the oldest part of the town. The earliest settlement would have been round the Motte and Bailey. Perhaps it is the age of this land which has given the houses built upon it such supernatural sensitivity. Number 4 has been troubled by ghostly activity of a varied and often frightening nature for some years. They have centred most recently on a bedroom at the top of the stairs. "It's one of the rooms we use for paying guests," said Sharn, and 1 or 2 have felt a presence there recently. C, a young girl, one of our lodgers, I remember, coming down the stairs one morning for breakfast looking a little pale, and I asked if she'd had a good night. "No," she said, "I was woken up in the middle of the night with this eerie feeling that there was someone in the room with me, and then the bed started shaking." Of course, Sharn, I'm imagining Sharn just wearing all black and with gloves, just shaking the bed. "I've been awake ever since, with the light on." "I offered her another room," said Sharn, "but she said no, she'd rather stay there. She found it all rather fascinating." Similar things happened for the next couple of nights, and then nothing more. The window of another room, one which would once have been used by the maid of the Victorian household, refused to stay closed. For months, Sharn would find it open every Saturday morning, having been opened mysteriously every Friday night. Sharn tried sticking sellotape, other tapes are available, over the latch to keep over the latch to keep it shut, but to no avail. It would be found open in the morning just the same. Sharn took up the story. While this was going on, a lodger moved into the room, and we had quite a startling experience one night. He was woken up by a sudden knocking on the window, a kind of rapping. Then suddenly the window slammed open, and it banged about, backwards and forwards. He jumped out of his bed in consternation, and then caught a glimpse of a figure disappearing downstairs. Who? We do not know. Was it Sharn? It might have been Sharn. Mm-hmm. Strange phenomena, and this is where this is where we enter sort of the bit that I just don't like. Strange phenomena occur all over the house, however, and at all times of day. One afternoon, for example, Sharn was having a cup of tea and a chat in the kitchen with neighbour Joyce Christopher, when Joyce suddenly exclaimed, Look at the ashtray!" Sharn looked down and, with Joyce, watched the ashtray slide 6 inches across the table. This isn't the bit I don't like, by the way. This is we're coming to it. Inch across the table all by itself. Items have a habit of moving about in Sharn's house, but this was the first time she'd actively caught one in the act. Ornaments frequently fling themselves off shelves or are found lying on the floor where they have fallen. Most recently, it was a large old teddy bear which tried a taste of freedom. It leapt from its accustomed place on top of the cupboard in Sharn's bedroom and landed on her while she was brushing her hair. Now, of all the rooms in the house, it is this, Sian's bedroom, which seems to be the most haunted. The most frighteningly so. A few years ago, Sian became the victim of some malignant entity, which would come to her during the darkest hours of the night. She told me, the first time it came, I woke up to find myself struggling with this thing. I couldn't physically feel anything, but there was a great pressure upon me, all down my left side. It was as if something was trying to push me out, or worse, trying to get inside me. No.
I actually wasn't thinking that. I was actually thinking like it was trying to like open her mouth and go in.
I would just think people at home, no, but yeah, that's quite scary, isn't it? Get inside me. He repeats. Blah, 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 blah. It was horrible. I struggled and felt as if all the life was being drained out of me. Desperately, I tried to remember all the prayers I knew, and I just started repeating them over and over again, and finally the pressure seemed to relax and ease off. I thought I'd got rid of it. I thought I'd won, but I was wrong. The thing seemed to move behind me, and I felt these fingers on my shoulders. 2 hands grabbed me, and I tried to pull me out of bed. I thought this was it. I'm going to die. And then I heard this loud, awful groan from somewhere above me, and then, whatever it was, let go.
It was just the 2 people bumping upstairs,
yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Something trying to get inside you, and then a loud, awful groan.
Yeah. Ooh. I saw this little black blob, like a black squash ball, roll away from me and vanish somewhere near the fireplace, and that was it. I was free of it, but it took me a long time to get over the shock. I had the vicar in, and he told me some prayers to say, but I'd stay up night after night, not daring to go to bed. Sometimes, even now, I can feel it returning, this pressure bearing down, but I've learned to fight it off now before it starts. I don't think it'll be able to get at me again. Sian is a brave lady indeed, continues the author. The above experiences would have been quite enough to set me running from the house never to return, but Sian is clearly made of sterner stuff, as evidenced by her final tale, and this is the one. One which made me shiver all over at the recounting of it. Yeah, me too, buddy. Sian had been lying in bed, dozing off, when she felt someone poking her in the ribs. And there came a girlish giggle from behind her. Sian rolled over to encounter someone in her bed. It was a younger woman with a pointy face and frizzy hair, she said.
That's mean.
And she was just lying there laughing at me and prodding me like she was teasing me. Well, I'm used to anything in this house by now, said Sian, and I was more indignant than I was frightened, so I just rolled over and told her to fuck off.
That's great.
She disappeared. Sian has certainly exclaimed more than her first share of witness to apparitions, but her neighbours can claim a few too. When Sian was having some renovations done in her house, her next door neighbour came round to complain for an unusual reason. How much longer is building work going to be happening in your house, Sian? It's just that ever since they began, we've had this man in a flat cap walk through your bedroom wall into our room and sit on our bed. We'll be quite relieved when it stops. So it's that I still have this very vivid image in my head of this sort of freckly little, girl just poking you in the ribs. It's a very sort of visceral. Ugh. Yeah, I never liked it. It's just a horrible idea. It's interesting though that Sian, as I say, still it was taking lodgers. So that's a fantastic advert for those who are curious about the.
And that's what I think
the
it
paranormal.
is.
Yeah.
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 I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean, you go to a place because you expect to be. There was a story last week that we read about. Oh no, it was on the Epic Realms podcast where we talked about this, where there's a hotel somewhere in the Midwest where everybody knows it's haunted, and
Mm-hmm.
so and baseball players will not stay there when they have to go play games there,
Okay.
because but maybe the other thing they do is like flick on and off lights, things
Yeah.
shake, but everybody seems to know it's haunted, and only when people know it's haunted do things seem to happen.
Yeah.
I have to say.
Yeah. That's interesting.
My next story is not necessarily about ghosts because I couldn't decide which ghost we should go with next because there was one in a pub that I did want to share with you, but it was a little bit gruesome, so I decided, yeah, let's have some fun. So,
Okay.
Mark, I think you shouldn't. I think everybody knows who the Green Children of Woolpit are.
No.
Ah!
No idea.
Mark, this is a medieval legend.
Okay.
Okay,
Hit
so
me.
so I will tell you the quote unquote original story of the
Uh-huh.
Green Children of Woolpit. Okay, so this is actually written down in two accounts, and around the year 1200. And the story goes thus: two children suddenly appeared at Woolpit. They were green, and they were small, and they did not speak the language of the people of Woolpit. And when they were trying to find out where these two children came from, so they reported that these children were strange. They might have been fairies, and it was a boy and a girl. And so they asked the children, who are they and where they came from? And so the girl said that they came from a place called St. Martin's Land, where all the people were green and they lived in a place of perpetual nighttime. And so they said, how did you manage to leave this place? And so she said that they heard bells, and then they went through a tunnel or a cave. It's not very clear. And they said they saw a light at the end of the tunnel. The sun was shining through the mouth of the cave, and that they came to Woolpit, which I think very unlikely because Woolpit's in England. So and so
Gosh.
this is how the story generally goes. And so the story is that they were green. They had no idea why these children were green, but that they gave them broad beans to eat. The children ate the beans, and over time, the greenness went away, and they were able to suddenly speak Middle
Okay.
English.
Okay.
Okay. So, Mark, what do you think really happened?
I know that there are recorded cases, medical cases, of people who have consumed food of only one colour for a period of time, who take on the hue of that food. Thinking of a couple who, I mean, the specifics sometimes vary, but the medical observation was that basically they were eating a lot of tomato soup, and they turned orangey red, and supposedly. And again, this isn't meant to be a joke. Supposedly, the doctor put them on a diet of chicken soup because, for some reason, they couldn't. The idea was that they couldn't cook very well, so they were just having chicken soup, and the chicken soup reverted them back to not being affected by. So it's essentially a neutral color, took the red out of their flesh. But yeah, and beyond that, I'm not sure.
So nobody knows the
Okay.
real story of what happened. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory, and the folks at home can write in the comments what they think actually happened, because to this day we still don't know.
Okay.
So the children appeared sometime during the reign of King Stephen, which was during the
Is it calamity? The
oh, so close, Mark, the anarchy. What was the anarchy?
Anarchy. It was a civil war. Matilda and Stephen fighting, I think, wasn't it? Yeah.
So it was a time of great unrest, and
Yeah.
so they think it was sometime during the anarchy.
Hmm.
And it was William of Newburgh who wrote this story
Okay.
in his Historia Rerum Anglicarum, or the history of English affairs. And he was writing about this. And so he was writing about it a little bit later than it actually happened. But he says that he didn't want to include this story, but because of how many witnesses there are, his own words, he decided to include it. And so that is where we first get this story from.
Okay.
But the second time this story is mentioned is written down in the Chronicum Anglicanum, sorry, the English Chronicle. in around mid 1200s. So this is already much, much later. But the
Okay.
story is already becoming different. And they say that the boy, even though they were both green and they were both talking, said that the boy died and the girl lived.
Okay.
And the end of the story is that people claim that the girl lived, she lived a perfectly normal life, and that her name was Agnes, and she got married, and everything was fine. And that the boy died, and that was that. So the first idea was that this was somehow some kind of arsenic poisoning, and that the kids were just mentally not able to speak. But I think that's a bit nonsense. Um, there obviously people claim that they were fairies, but that claim comes from so much later that it's just not. Obviously, it's very, very silly. But the problem is that this does mirror a few dark fairy stories, and so the question is, did this actually happen then, or is this just all made up? And there are a couple of historians who say it's very possible that during the reign of the anarchy that these kids were Flemish, which is why they thought they were from St. Martin's Land. They ended up coming to England via, who knows, they might have hid during a time of great suffering or great fear, and that they were eating grass or some other kind of broad bean, because there is a sickness that you can get from eating only beans that does color you a very sort of jaundice color. And therefore and they spoke Flemish. That's why they didn't speak English. They had no idea what was going on. I think probably that's the most likely thing.
Okay.
But already a couple of years later, the story starts changing, and we don't really know. Um, but that's it. I would say actually we don't even really know if this happened. We have one man's claim that a lot of people saw it. It also could be that these kids were just extremely malnourished. Like I said, they were eating grass or something like that during the anarchy, and that they just ended up, maybe their parents had died in the wars, and they had to survive and fend for themselves, and they happened to make it to Woolpit, and that's it. Woolpit named for Wolfpit, so
Okay.
nobody knows.
No, that's interesting, and it. What's fascinating is that no one's really questioning the greenness of them.
Nope.
That's interesting. Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Well, I
Okay.
mean, general malnourishment. I mean, could have been
Yeah.
common among children,
And I suppose
especially during the
delirium.
anarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, during hard times. So, sure, have a couple of yellow and green kids just hopping around.
And also, I suppose, but if you are wandering the woods and you come across all manner of consumables, you may find yourself tripping balls. So, um, yeah, yeah, interesting. Well, my follow up is it's inspired by, and we had a slight crossing of wires the other day. You and I were chatting on Messenger, and I mentioned how I did not like the I think 2016 film now, The Blair Witch.
Oh
Because-
yes,
Yeah, and you
I
went,
did
oh
not
yeah,
know there was a remake.
yeah, yeah, and you're like, oh, no, it's a trash film, but you were talking about the Blair Witch Project, which is actually, unfortunately, one of my all-time favourites. I watch
Sure.
that. It's comfort food for me. I actually genuinely watch it many times a year. But it's obviously fiction. As much as I was saying to someone earlier, as much as I would like it to be real, would I? Would I really want the Blair Witch to be real? Because that's horrific.
I think
But-
I think we all deep down we want to believe. We want to
Yeah.
believe that these
Yeah.
stories are true, which is why they fascinate us so
Yeah,
much.
I think so. But one of the inspirations for the Blair Witch, and one of the early comparisons that people would make when being asked, "Have you heard about the Blair Witch Project?" was the Bell Witch, and the Bell Witch is a story which I have always been fascinated by because of the Blair Witch, and I figured I would just read the legend synopsis on Wikipedia because it's interesting. In his book, An Authenticated History of the Bell Witch, author Martin V. Ingram published that the poltergeist's name was Kate, after the entity claimed at one point to be old Kate Batts, witch. and continued to respond favourably to the name. The physical activity centred on the Bells' youngest daughter, Betsy, and her father, and Kate expressed particular displeasure when Betsy became engaged to a local named Joshua Gardner. So the haunting began sometime in 1817 when John Bell witnessed the apparition of a strange creature resembling a dog with the head of a rabbit. Bell fired at the animal and it disappeared. John's son, Drew Bell, approached an unknown bird perched on a fence that flew off and was of extraordinary size. The daughter, Betsy, observed a girl in a green dress swinging from the limb of an oak tree. Dean, a slave belonging to the Bell family, reported being followed by a large black dog on evenings when he visited his wife. That's some dark history there. And activity moved to the Bell household after all of these reports, with knocking heard along the door and the walls. The family heard sounds of gnawing on the beds, invisible dogs fighting, and chains along the floor. Around about this time, John Bell began experiencing paralysis in his mouth. The phenomena grew in intensity as sheets were pulled from beds when the children slept. Soon, the entity pulled hair and scratched the children, with particular emphasis on Betsy, who was slapped, pinched, and stuck with pins. The Bells turned to family friends James Johnston for help. After retiring for the evening at the Bell home, Johnston was awakened that night by the same phenomena. That morning he told John Bell that it was a spirit, just like in the Bible. That was his quote. Soon, word of the haunting spread, with some travelling great distances to see the witch. The apparent apparition began to speak out loud and was asked, "Who are you and what do you want?" And the voice answered feebly, "I am a spirit. I was once very happy, but I have been disturbed."
And it spoke English. That's interesting. Okay.
That isn't, yeah. The spirit offered diverse explanations of why it had appeared, tying its origin to the disturbance of Native American burial mound, that old classic, and presumably these sorts of stories are where these classics come from: rattling chains and burial mounds. And located on the property, apparently, and Drew Bell and Bennett Porter, on an unpredictable search for buried treasure, supposedly had disturbed the burial mound, and hence unleashed the poltergeist ghost. With the emergence of full conversations, the spirit repeated word for word 2 sermons given 13 miles apart at the same time. The entity was well acquainted with biblical text, and he appeared to enjoy religious arguments. As another amusement, the witch shared gossip about activities in other households, and at times appeared to leave for brief moments to visit homes after an inquiry. John Johnston.
So he went to church, came home, was like, "Can you tell me about that sermon the other day?"
Yeah, this is basically Alexa, isn't it? This is. Add butter to the shopping list. John Johnson, a son of James, devised a test for the witch, something no one outside his family would know, asking the entity what his Dutch step-grandmother in North Carolina would say to the slaves if she knew they did something wrong. The witch replied, with his grandmother's accent, "Hut tut, what has happened now?" In another account, an Englishman stopped to see and offered to investigate. "Oh, I'll take a look. Let's have a gander." On remarking on his family overseas, the witch suddenly began to mimic his English parents. Again, in the early morning, the witch woke him to voices of his parents, worried as they had heard his voice as well. The Englishman quickly left that morning and later wrote to the Bell family that the entity had visited his family in England, and he apologized for his skepticism. So it was mimicking, presumably, his parents from across the Atlantic. At times, the spirit displayed a form of kindness, especially towards Lucy, John Bell's wife, the most perfect woman to walk the earth. The witch would give Lucy fresh fruit and sing hymns to her, and showed John Bell Jr. a measure of respect. Referring to John Bell Sr. as Old Jack, the witch claimed she intended to kill him and signalled this intention through curses, threats, and afflictions. It sounds like palsy, doesn't it? If he's going sort of numb in the face and stuff. The story climaxes with the Bell patriarch being poisoned by the witch. Yeah, because ghosts need to poison people, obviously. Afterward, the entity interrupted the mourners by singing drinking songs. In 1821, as a result of the witch's entreatment, Betsy Bell called off her engagement to Joshua Gardner, and subsequently the entity told the family it was going to leave, but return in 7 years in 1828. The witch returned on time to Lucy and her sons, Richard and Joel, with similar activities as before, but they chose not to encourage it, and the witch appeared to leave again. Several accounts say that during his military career, Andrew Jackson was intrigued by the story, and his men were frightened away after travelling to investigate. In an independent oral tradition recorded at the vicinity of Pelona County, Mississippi, the witch was the ghost of an unpleasant overseer, John Bell, murdered in North Carolina. In this tradition, the spirit falls in love with the central character Mary, leading to her death. This account is reminiscent of vampire lore, and so on and so forth. It's interesting, and I hate to say it, I can't help but think that in other circumstances, this is the sort of thing that leads to branch religious experiences, isn't it?
Hello, my name is Elder Grant. It's a book about America a long, long time ago.
It's the sort of thing that someone can claim to have had visions, etc. And if you have the right or the wrong, depending on your perspective, sequence of events unfolding around it, you might get a mass, well, what's often called sort of mass hysteria, but prolonged by the sounds of it. Yeah. Do you think it's just the sort of thing that happens when you're isolated and, and relatively bored, perhaps? I don't know. Or do you think there's something more sinister?
Don't forget about it. Part that you didn't mention is that she has a cave, apparently, where she lived, and now you can go visit the historic Bell Witch Cave.
Yeah, the official home, guided cave tours. Yeah,
exactly.
There's also so I read that as the Haunted Deli, Queen of the Haunted Dell. There's a picture there, Queen of the Haunted Deli. Come to the Haunted Deli. It's a 40-minute
Listen,
drive
if
from
I walked
Nashville.
into a deli and they had like a haunted serve behind going, "Do you want pastrami?" I'd be, "Yes, sir. I would like your ghost pastrami, please." That'd be great.
Yeah. Put it on this rye bread.
Haunted chicken fillet roll.
Yeah. So I don't know. What do you think? This is just a nice, ghost story.
It's all a little bit too convenient because why would a ghost? I always say these things. Why would a ghost be from like X amount of time ago be speaking your language? Why would a ghost be not? There is actually a picture of her, but why would she be wearing clothes that you guys are wearing in your current time period? It probably started with somebody saying, "Oh, there is this kind of activity in the area," and then as a collective memory piece. People going, "Oh, it spoke to me over here. Oh, I heard a strange thing over here," and then they sort of gathered together. Because I mean, it says in the thing that you read that she traveled over long distances. How do you know it's the same one?
And and it might just be because I watched it last night, but the Johnny Depp, Tim Burton, Christina Ricci, Sleepy Hollow, which is a fantastic experience, even if it's not that accurate to the original story, it feels very similar to this, where within a community you can build up your own little sort of, essentially a mythology of what's happening in the world around you, and yeah, it's an interesting case study. I just hope that nothing more sinister was happening, that this wasn't actually masking domestic abuse, perhaps, or
Probably was.
But yeah, it may well have been. Okay, let's not think about that too much more. But yeah, okay. I have a bonus thing to consider though, from the dark to the sublime in some respects. This is from History Collection, and it's from a blog post from 2018. Written by Tim Flight, and also incidentally, I know I showed it on camera, but I should give him his dues. The Haunted Clwyd book was written by Richard Holland. I just want to acknowledge that he may not even be alive anymore, but he deserves recognition. But this blog post, it's called 10 Ghosts of the Most Famous Historical Figures and Where to Find Them. I'm not going to go through all 10, but I absolutely love the opening of this blog. So, yeah. Ghosts are dying out. Recent surveys reveal that only a third of American and British people still believe in them. These figures...
Sorry, that's a good... Ghosts are dying out.
Yeah.
I think they're dying to be seen.
We're back to the haunted deli. They're dining out. Dying out. Recent surveys, only a third of American and British people still believe in them. These figures mark a steady drop from the early 20th century when spiritualism was en vogue. And that was actually true here in Wallsend. There's a spiritualist church just up the road, there was. And it is theorized that the century's numerous horrific events and the mandatory presence of science in school curriculums have made people less credulous. For example, if you have millions and millions of people dying in a war, why aren't there millions and millions of ghosts floating around? And that's a fair thing to wonder. And also an awful lot of people whose families were touched by death and didn't want to think about their loved ones being ghosts, for example. And yet the cultures of both sides of the Atlantic are replete with ghostly phenomena, from which films such as The Haunting in Connecticut and the Conjuring franchise, the TV series of Ghost Hunters and so on and so forth, churn up dubious evidence for the supernatural. Beyond statistics, we can see a form of ghost agnosticism, a desire to find out the truth, or just simply to enjoy the phenomenon vicariously. And actually, for me, I have to say, Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, it's a guilty pleasure for me. I do kind of enjoy the night vision camera investigations.
Aaron's vlog. We just got here. We only have a few minutes left. No one really gets to stand inside here without certain permission. So we're one of the few that actually get to be inside Stonehenge right now, and it's amazing. It's just an amazing place.
I like standing in the circle and doing good.
Zach's trying to get sick in Stonehenge. He's doing what I was doing earlier. You're going to fall over again, dude. Be careful.
No, because the powers of Stonehenge.
But just what an amazing place.
But this first ghost that they're talking about is Henry VIII.
Hello there.
And this is just fantastic. Henry VIII, the Fat King with all the wives. As he is popularly remembered, started his reign as a talented and vigorous young man who excelled in learning, sport and music. His love of food, however, led him to reach great size. His waist size was at least 60 inches, based on the last suit of armour he had tailored, and developing gout and therefore a foul temper. He is also famous for divorcing England from the Catholic Church, assembling a party of theologians and intellectuals to create a new English church derived from the writings of Martin Luther. It comes as no surprise, therefore, that historical heavyweight such as Henry looms large, pun intended. No pun intended.
Now I see why you like this book.
Yeah. In English ghost lore, Hampton Court Palace, for example, Greater London, was one of Henry's favourite palaces, conveniently located for the capital and offering good sport at nearby hunting parks of Richmond and Nonsuch. His phantom has been spotted on numerous occasions. He is seen swanning around his former home, usually in the elaborate garments made famous in Hans Holbein's portraits. How convenient.
Yes, how convenient.
There are even a few grainy photographs and videos of the king on the internet, predictably wheeled out each Halloween. Henry is also said to haunt Windsor Castle, where his ghost is infinitely more intriguing. Visitors to the castle have heard him pacing the corridors, moaning and groaning at great volume, and those lucky enough to have seen him describe a large, anxious, angry man pacing furiously and shouting loudly. More mysteriously, Henry is said to haunt the Tudor manor, Salmesbury Hall in Lancashire, and has even been photographed, despite there being no record of his having ever visited the hall while alive. Capitalising on the legend,
amazingly. Yeah.
Capitalising on the legend, the hall even employed a Henry lookalike as a tour guide in 2009.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love the ham. Ham it up.
Yeah, ham it up.
But I always think it's funny whenever, they're like, oh, this great historical figure came and saw me and spoke to him. Really? Did he? How did you understand his level? How did you understand his level of French?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just, it speaks to, in some respects, ghosts are what you want them to be.
Yes.
And they always reflect your particular time and place, your fears, and your fascinations. Nice alliteration there, thank you.
I always want ghosts to be real. As Mark and I always say, I'd love to ghosts to be real. But I'll just tell you this. If I get to the afterlife just to spend time with my family again, I'm killing myself again and putting myself somewhere else.
Yeah, you're gonna pull the lever marked reincarnate, or just
Maybe
cease to
this is why
exist.
there are ghosts. So because people, they get to the afterlife, they see their families, and they go, "Oh no!" And then,
Yeah, yeah.
they turn around and go, "I'd rather be with these sods." Boo.
Exactly, yeah. Well, folks, those are some interesting and historical ghosts and or hauntings, and
The
perhaps
ghosts of history.
history. And I think quite a fitting addition to this year's Halloween week. As I mentioned in this week's Archaeo Scoop episode, Friday evening we'll see the Moot live stream, and I'll be reading so far the 6 entries that we have for the writing Moot, the writing comparison. I'm trying to avoid the word competition.
It's a competition, Mark. It's competition.
And I
Because there is a winner. If there weren't competition, you wouldn't have chosen a winner.
do I say winner? I kind
Yes.
of do, don't I?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Competition. And
Yes.
it'll be at 10 p.m. UK time on Friday evening, Halloween night. And as ever, it's lots of fun. And actually, the entries, as ever, are looking pretty good. I'm quite intrigued by it. This year, are you likely to include a Mindle story?
Nope.
No? Okay.
Nope. The one I sent you, he's not there this year.
Okay.
Because the theme, you have to follow a theme. If there's still time and you want to write it, the theme is bait and switch, and I seriously could not think of anything that wasn't archaeological. And I thought, well, I had a bait and switch. Like, what would I do? How would I do that? So instead, I included a very unconventional bait and switch.
Okay. You'll have to tune in to find out more, folks. Until then, though, do take care and have a fantastic Halloween week. Bye-bye.
Happy Halloween!